からお金を、盗んで、なおかつ、
Just to kind of just go over the result, in conclusion, Ippei has been stealing money from my account and has told lies.
まず初めに言うと先週末、韓国ですね、僕の代理人に対してメディアの、方から、私が、僕のにですね、違法のブックメーカーから、僕が、関与しているのではないかというスポーツ博打に賭博について、関与しているのではないかという打診が連絡がありました。
Last weekend in Korea, media has reached out to a representative in my camp, inquiring about my potential involvement in this sports betting.
で一平さんは僕にこういった取材の依頼があるということをまず、僕には話していなかったし、僕の方にそういう連絡はまず来ていなかったということと、まず初めに代理人には、一平さんは僕と話して分かったのは、一平さんにではなく、某友人の借金の肩代わりとして、支払ったというふうに、僕の代理人も含めてみんなに話してました。
So Ippei never revealed to me that there was this media inquiry, and to the representatives in my camp, Ippei told to the media and to my representatives that I, on behalf of a friend, paid off debt.
でその翌日にさらに尋問で一平さんは、僕たちの代理人に対して、借金は自分のもの、つまり一平さん自身が作ったものだということを、説明しました。
Upon further questioning, it was revealed that it was actually, in fact, Ippei who was in debt.
でそれを僕が、肩代わりしたという話を、その時に代理人に話したそうです。
And told my representatives that I was paying off those debt.
そしてこれらは全く全てが嘘だったということですね。
And all of this has been a complete lie.
一平さんは取材依頼のことも僕にはもちろん、その時伝えていなかったですし、代理人の人たちに対しても、僕はすでに彼と話して、彼と話してコミュニケーションを取っていたということを、嘘をついてました。
So Ippei obviously lied about, basically didn't tell me about the media inquiry. And then その代表に対して、
僕もそうだし代表、チームもそうですね。チームも、代理の人たちに対しても、つまり僕とコミュニケーションを取っていたっていうふうに嘘をついてました。
So Ippei has been telling everybody around that Ippei has been communicating with Shohei on all of this account to my representative, to the team, and that hasn't been true.
そして僕がこのギャンブルに関しての問題を初めて知ったのは、韓国での第一戦が終わった後に行われたチームミーティング、の時、試合の後のチームミーティングの時です。
The first time I knew about this gambling, Ippei's gambling, was during after the first game when we had the team meeting in the clubhouse.
そのミーティングで彼は全部英語で話していたので、僕に通訳はもちろんその時ついていなくて、全て英語で話していたので、完全には理解できていなくて、なんとなくこういう内容だろうなっていうのはおそらくは、理解はできていましたけど、なんとなく違和感をその時は感じてました。
So during the team meeting, obviously, Ippei was speaking in English, and I didn't have a translator on my side. But even with that, I kind of understood what was going on and started to feel that there was something amiss.
でその時彼は僕に対してホテルに帰った後で、2人で、より詳しいことを、2人で話したいので今は待ってくれというふうに言っていたので、僕はまずその時はホテルまで待つことにしてました。
Just prior to the meeting, I was told by Ippei, "Hey, let's talk one-to-one in the hotel after the meeting." So I waited until then.
で僕は一平さんがその時にギャンブルミーティングの時にギャンブルの依存症だっていうのは僕はもちろん知らなかったですし、彼が借金をしていることもそのミーティングの時はもちろん知りませんでした。
So up until that team meeting, I didn't know that Ippei had a gambling addiction and was in debt.
で僕は彼の借金返済にももちろんその時も同意してませんし、ブックメーカーに対して彼に送金をしてくれと頼んだことももちろん許可したことももちろんないです。
And at that point, I never agreed to pay off the debt or make payments to the bookmaker.
でその後試合後ホテルに、戻って一平さんと初めてそこで話をして、彼に巨額の借金があることをその時知りました。
And finally, when we went back to the hotel and talked one-to-one, that was when I found out that he had a massive debt.
で彼はその時私に、僕の口座に勝手にアクセスしてブックメーカーに送金していたということを僕に伝えました。
And it was revealed to me during that meeting that Ippei admitted that he was sending money using my account to the bookmaker.
で僕はやっぱりこれはおかしいなと思って、代理人と話したいということで代理人たちを呼んでそこで話し合いました。
And at that moment, obviously, it was an absurd thing that was happening, and I've contacted my representatives at that point.
で話し終わってこれを聞いて僕の代理人もやっぱり彼に嘘をつかれていたということを、初めて知って、すぐにドジャースの皆さんと、弁護士の人たちにその時に連絡しました。
So when I was finally able to talk to my representatives, that's when my representatives found out that Ippei has been lying the whole time, and that's when I started contacting the Dodgers and my lawyers.
でそのドジャースの皆さんも、代理の人たちも彼らもその時に初めてまた自分たちも嘘をつかれていたということをその時に知りました。
And the Dodgers and the lawyers at that moment found out also as well that they have been lied to.
そして僕が弁護士の人たちはこれは窃盗と詐欺のことなのでこれを警察の当局に引き渡すという報告をその時にしました。
And my lawyers recommended that, since this is theft and fraud, that we have the proper authorities handle this matter.
これがそこまでの流れなので僕はもちろんスポーツ賭博にはもちろん関与していないですしブックメーカーにさっきも言いましたけど送金をしていたという事実は全く、ありません。
So, in conclusion, I do want to make it clear that I never betted on sports or have willfully sent money to the bookmaker.
正直ショックという、言葉が正しいとは思わないですし、それ以上のうまく言葉では表せないような、感覚でこの1週間ぐらいはずっと過ごしてきたので今はそれをうまく言葉にするのは、難しいなと思っています。
To summarize how I'm feeling right now, I'm just beyond shocked. It's really hard to verbalize how I am feeling at this point.
ただもうシーズンも本格的にスタートするので、ここからは弁護士の、方々にもお任せしますし僕自身も、警察当局の、協力に全面的に協力したいなと思っています。
And the season's going to start, so I'm going to obviously let my lawyers handle matters from here on out, and I am completely assisting in all investigations that are taking place right now.
なので気持ちを切り替えるのは難しいですけどもシーズンに向けて、またスタートしたいですし、今日まずお話できてよかったなとも思っているので、今日は質疑応答はこれが今お話しできるすべてなので質疑応答はしませんが、これから、さらに進んでいくと思います。
I'm looking forward to focusing on the season. I'm glad that we had this opportunity to talk, and I'm sure there will be continuing investigations moving forward.
以上です。ありがとうございました。
Thank you very much.
All right, you've been listening right there to the interpreter, the new interpreter, and Shohei Ohtani speaking about this gambling problem that surfaced last week. We're going to check in with Rob Fugasaki. He is standing by at Dodger Stadium ahead of another game for the Freeway Series tonight. And Rob?
Okay, thanks very much. Yeah, when we were in South Korea last week, when this news broke, South Korea time, it was overnight. So everybody woke up to the news that there was this gambling saga involving Shohei Ohtani's former interpreter, Ippei Mizuhara. Now, everybody was in shock. Everyone was questioning what was going on. When I interviewed fans, they were saying that it was betrayal, a very, very good friend of Shohei. How could he do such a thing? Then the stories came out, the timeline came out, and things didn't seem to shake out because the story started to change. So that put a lot of question into people's mind, wondering, did Shohei know about this? It came out of his account, the $4 million plus wire transfers. But he came out today and he told his story that he was just sad and he's just unbelievably shocked that his good friend and his former interpreter would do this, that he stole from his account, and that Shohei Ohtani said in that statement he didn't bet on anything. He didn't bet on baseball. He didn't bet on any other sports, and he wanted to make that clear. He reiterated that at the end of that statement. The statement did last a lot longer than we expected. We're thinking maybe 2 or 3 minutes, and of course there were no questions. We knew that heading into it, and no other cameras were involved in that interview room, just the one pool camera that was going out to all stations, including ours, that aired right here on ABC 7. So once again, Shohei Ohtani saying that his lawyers and his representatives are taking care of the authorities that have been investigating it are taking care of it. And of course, Ippei Mizuhara was fired while we were in South Korea the following day after the news broke. But of course, Ippei did do an interview talking about the possibility that Shohei was helping him with the money, paying the bookie back. But Shohei did say in his statement that was not true. They were all lies. Back to you guys.
All right, Rob, thank you very much. We're going to keep following this breaking news right now. We're going to go to Phil Palmer standing by with a look at the timeline that we're talking about here.
Yeah, Rob mentioned it, and a lot of Shohei Ohtani's statement kind of falls in line with this timeline. If you look back, this all began on Monday, March 18th, which was overnight into Tuesday. And that's when ESPN and their reporters first made contact about wire transfers that accumulated to about $1 million. They were asking for a statement from Ohtani's agent. Eventually, Ohtani, later that day, that was Monday afternoon, they hired a crisis communications spokesman, and that person says that they told ESPN that Ohtani did pay debts on behalf of Ippei Mizuhara. Now, that matters because then 6:05 our time, the Ohtani spokesperson confirmed the gambling debt of about $4.5 million. Then at 7:30, Mizuhara gave a 90-minute interview from South Korea with ESPN reporters, and that's when he said that Ohtani had paid off his debts. Then you move on into Wednesday. The Dodgers held a clubhouse meeting after that first game, and that you heard Ohtani start talking about was when he began to realize something was going on. At 8:32 on Wednesday, our time, an Ohtani spokesperson had actually encouraged ESPN to not run the story because they said Ippei is lying. So that's what Ohtani was talking about in his statement, where he was beginning to understand that he was not getting all of the information. We're led to believe by some of Ohtani's spokespeople that the only information, the only communicator here was Mizuhara. So he was basically saying to Ohtani one thing and then telling the Dodgers and the public something else. That is the allegations made by Ohtani's people. His lawyers then issue a statement to ESPN at 11 a.m. on Wednesday, our time, that's when we first started to hear that in the course of responding to recent media inquiries, we found out that Shohei had been the victim of massive theft. We're turning the matter over to authorities. Then later, at about 11:30 on Wednesday, that's when the Dodgers fired Mizuhara. And then at about 1 o'clock, 12:55 on Wednesday, ESPN actually reached Mizuhara by phone, and he admitted at that moment that he had lied the previous day. In his interview, he starts to walk back what he said, that Ohtani had no knowledge of his gambling activities, debts, or efforts to repay them. And then at 1:13 on Wednesday, the Ohtani spokesperson says that Mizuhara had been controlling the information to Ohtani. And then again, he was also giving his narrative, his version to anyone who was interviewing him. But again, as Rob just mentioned, Colleen and Ellen, this statement from Ohtani started with, "I've never bet on baseball and I haven't ever used a bookie," and it ended with basically the same thing. And that he also pointed out that Ippei never told the representatives of the inquiry of the media. So that timeline gives you a little bit of an idea as to why this was so confusing, and it really fell in line closely whatever Shohei Ohtani's statement said this afternoon that you saw live here.
We are very much following this breaking news right now. Philip, thank you. Stay put. I'm sure we're going to check back in with you. You are watching Eyewitness News at 3 o'clock. We have been following this developing story, breaking story out of Dodger Stadium. We just heard from it. Again, you're watching our live team coverage this afternoon as Shohei Ohtani speaks for the first time since the firing of his friend and interpreter over gambling and theft allegations. Rob Hayes has fan reactions as Dodger fans get ready for Game 2 of the Freeway Series. But first, let's go to Rob Fukusaki, who's been following the story since it broke. Rob.